to the show, everybody. I'm Mark.
I'm Britton.
All right, so today we continued our odyssey of The Mandalorian by watching both episodes 2 and episode 3. So let's get started.
Okie dokie.
All right, I guess we'll give a brief recap, like we always do, of what happened in the shows.
So where we last left off, the Mandalorian just had the shootout with the I don't know, are they just unmasked sand folk, or are they just some kind of random lizard person?
I think they were lizard people.
Anyway, he fought and killed them, and then got Baby Yoda.
Yeah, and then some extra lizard folk showed up, and tried to get the Baby Yoda from him.
This is in the episodes we're watching.
Yeah, and he didn't let them take the Baby Yoda from him, and then some Jawas took his the parts of his ship so he couldn't take the Baby Yoda off the planet, and then he fought the Jawas, and the Jawas beat him, and
by throwing junk.
Yeah, by throwing trash on him, like he was the Green Goblin.
You mess with one Jawa, you mess with all of us, pal.
And so him and Nick Nolte have to go and do a I guess kind of like a peace agreement with the Jawas to get his stuff back.
Well, it was more like some kind of bargaining.
Yeah,
like a not even a bargaining, like was bartering.
Yeah, and they're like, all right, if you get us the egg, this mysterious egg, then you can have your stuff back. Yeah. So he goes and he fights a rhino.
Yeah, just pretty much a big furry rhino.
And Baby Yoda uses its force powers, which is probably why he was a bounty target to begin with. Yeah. And he lifts the rhino up a little bit and assumingly crushes its heart because the Mandalorian kills it with a tiny little knife, and there's no way that tiny little knife killed that rhino unless he hit it in its thermal exhaust port.
And as he was going to go fight the rhino, we were kind of commenting on how the cave it lived in. Oh no! We cannot.
I guess we have to talk about the cave.
Discuss it. The cave looked like a butthole.
And the closer he got, the more of a butthole it looked like.
This rhino lived in a butthole cave.
And sure didn't help that there was mud everywhere outside the rhino cave.
So and then he after he kills the rhino in the most in the most unlikely way, he goes to the butthole cave and receives and he grabs the furry egg.
And he brings the egg back to the Jawas, and they crack it open and just start eating it like it's a pot of honey from Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, it was gross. I can only imagine that it has some kind of psychotropic properties.
Oh, it's like spice or something.
Yeah, and later on when he leaves, afterwards, they're probably just blitzed out of their mind.
And that was basically episode 2. And I'm going to give a recap of 2 and 3 together. Okay. So let's just jump right into episode 3 and talk about what happened there. Yeah. So he gets back to the planet that he started from to deliver the Baby Yoda and collect his reward. And, he does that. He goes to the Empire people and collects his reward, and they send him along his merry way with a nice big, supply of, I guess, steel plates. And he,
the Mandalorian ingots. They really. I'm sure they named what they were called.
He's in Mando, as far as I know.
Yeah. No, I mean the little ingots that he.
Oh
gets. I don't know. I don't remember what they're called, but I'm just calling them Mandalorian ingots.
Yeah, and so he gets those. He melts it down for some armor and some whistling badge, and they put that into, and they're like, "Oh, be very, very careful with them. They're very, very rare." And of course, he uses them to kill stormtroopers because that is the biggest waste of a whistling bird I've ever seen.
Like the first opportunity of the first point where there's the first sign of trouble, he pretty much uses them.
Like, I've seen Ewoks kill stormtroopers. There's no way no reason for him to use these powerful weapons.
Not just kill kill them with rocks.
Yeah, rocks on sticks.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. He drops the baby off. He's like, "Hey, what are you gonna do with the baby?" And Werner Herzog's like, "What does it care to you?" He's like, "All right." So he leaves, and then he, goes back to Chubbs, to Apollo Creed.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, what are they gonna do with the baby?"
I don't know.
It doesn't matter to you. All right. So he goes to
good enough for me.
So he goes to take off. He's like, "Yeah, I like the baby. I want to keep the baby." So he goes back and he just, murders all the stormtroopers.
Of which there were never more than 2 on screen, oddly enough.
I had a theory during the whole raid that that Disney only bought 2 stormtrooper costumes for the show, and they just had to keep on reusing it over and over. And the funny time is the only time that there was more than 2, it really did look like they were using a split screen.
It was really framed in a way that was conducive for split screening.
So I'm like, why couldn't they afford more?
I know, it's Disney. Like, they have billions of dollars.
They bought Star Wars. They didn't buy a Star Wars plushie or something. They bought the franchise of Star Wars.
They didn't buy the rights to maybe use the Star Wars name in an episode or something. They own Star Wars.
They had enough money to buy one of the biggest franchises in the world.
Yeah.
And then buy Fox.
Yeah. Like, if they so wanted to, they can kick in the door of any dumb Star Wars fan and steal their armor and then use it for the movie.
I mean, it's legally allowed in their contract.
Like, they own, they own the Senate. We got to bring this out now. They own the Senate. They own the
Galactic Senate. Yeah. And so they get he takes the baby, and he's walking along the street, and they pretty much John Wick to him, where all the bounty hunters and the bounty hunter guild are like, "Hey, come on, don't do that.
Put the baby down.
Leave the baby. Hey, you, the bimbo with the baby." Ghostbusters 2 reference.
Most quotable movie ever.
Yeah, it's great. So then he has this big shootout with all of them, and then for absolutely no reason, his big Mandalorian brothers come out to save the day.
Yeah, it was very Deus Ex Machina, and that was kind of one of the things that we were discussing. We couldn't really find out why they were... where they came from, or how they even knew the fight was going on to begin with,
or why they decided to throw their hat into the ring also. So there was a lot of questions there. I'm sure there's probably some Reddit thread that has the answers, but as far as these are just the impressions we got watching it. And he goes out, he takes the baby on the ship, and he's like, "All right, we're gonna go fly out into space, baby," and that's where it ended. And so I'm just going to give my overall impression of the show.
Okay.
I'm going to say that I do agree with what I said last time, that this is pretty much the most okay show I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's not bad by any stretch of imagination, but I really don't think it's great. I don't understand, I guess, maybe the huge appeal to it that it had, because it really took the world by storm.
Yeah.
And I'm not getting that, but I can see how it can get better. So I'm assuming that as it goes on, it's just going to get better and better. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. I do kind of see how it took the world by storm. I still think it's too early to really give an assessment of how it's going to be for as a show.
Yeah.
But I can kind of see why it was so popular. Like, I know you and I are probably a bit jaded by now with all the Baby Yoda memes.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that coming into this fresh and seeing the Baby Yoda fresh and seeing the Baby Yoda for the first time and having
it would have been a shock.
Yeah, it would have been a shock. It would have been a nice little surprise in the second episode where it uses its Force power, spoilers alert. And I had it not been for pretty much everything being spoiled, for not spoiled, but a lot of big reveals kind of been posted on the internet, I think it would have been a fresher experience.
It might have been a little bit better, but I still can't get over the fact that episode 2 was basically just a non-starter episode.
Yeah.
Just, okay, so we've introduced that there's a Baby Yoda in here. Now what are you going to do with it? well, let's have this guy bumble around a planet trying to get out for an episode, and then what? No, that's the episode.
Yeah, it is pretty much a filler.
And it's weird because that's episode 2. It shouldn't be a filler at this point.
Should be getting into like episode 2 should have been what episode 3 was.
Yeah. I will say the few things that I can really praise about the show is I think the music is great.
Yeah, the music is top notch,
and I think that goes along with the theme that this seems to be, among other things, this also seems to be a western. Or have a western style to it. The way his hand's always on his, his gun at his side.
I didn't pick up on that, but now that you mention it, and looking at, the scenery, listening to the, the music.
The music was definitely like I almost pointed out when we were listening, but I was like, man, this sounds like Good and Bad and the Ugly music that they were doing.
So I can definitely see now, especially even the bounty hunter aspect. I could definitely see a western element to this.
I think I read somewhere that the creator, had a lot of different genres in mind with it, but one of them was definitely western, and like it clearly shows. Like I said, once I heard that the first little bit of music that was like basically just woo woo woo.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, okay, and after that I was watching him put his again like slowly reaching for his his big iron by his hip kind of thing, and I'm sorry, I knew I'm glad that you didn't.
I'm glad you waited till I was finished drinking my drink to bring that out.
And
like that is. I wish we could explain why that's so funny.
Let's just say that there's a song that goes by that kind of goes and has like the big iron on his hip, like a western song from the 50s, and we just
we misinterpreted it.
It tickles us. It's a song that just tickles us. So those are the things I can really talk about that I do really like in this show, is a little western flair to it that it does have. Though I kind of want to see C-3PO as let me just put it this way. I want to see C-3PO in a little cowboy hat and, a 6-shooter. I think that would almost be perfect. You can almost see that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he wouldn't be very good.
No, of course not. But, he's not wearing it for any kind of style or intimidation. He's doing it just to blend in. But it's kind of like how Marty McFly was trying to blend in when he went back in time to, 1885.
Yeah. I was actually thinking more he's full on. He's got the cowboy hat. He's got the sheriff's badge. He's got a 6-shooter, belt on him and everything.
Oh,
I'm here to keep law and order in this town. Thank you very much.
Okay, I thought he was just, trying to blend in and just wearing a tiny little cowboy hat that's too big, too small for his big head. Well, his dumb head.
I'm also going to go on a limb and say that R2-D2's got a cowboy hat because he's his deputy. Like
R2, I'm the law around here, and don't you forget it. I never. One thing I do want to kind of bring into this, I know it's a little bit unrelated, but I do want to explain to everyone what the term a log episode is, so we can bring that back in the future.
Okay, I do think that it's very important to talk about what a log episode is.
So, first off, whenever we refer to something as a log episode, that means it's a inconsequential episode that really could have been cut out. It's just a filler episode.
Like, it's definitely, they create a problem within the context of the episode of the show. It's solved almost immediately, and the only thing it's doing is just dragging it out to meet like a 22 episode schedule.
The problem and the solution is wrapped up in the same episode, and you never hear of it since.
It's basically just a one-off little like okay, well, I'm about to go to my destination. Oh, well, I have this big, stick in the way that I gotta wait for 45 minutes or however long a single episode goes, and then I can go to my destination.
Yeah.
Now, the origins of it are kind of funny. Back in the long time ago, I think it was a couple years ago when we first started watching it, we were watching Prison Break, and first season, I've mentioned before, is phenomenal. I recommend the first season.
A very good season of television, wrought with anxiety. It is a edge-of-your-seat show that gave me feelings of panic.
Yes, it is to me, it is the best season of television I've ever seen. It's not the best show ever, but to me, it's a standalone season. Season 1 is great. So then we moved on to season 2, and I like season 2, although it is probably my least favorite.
Okay.
Of all of the seasons of Prison Break, and when they get to a certain point, like the first big story arc in there is wrapped up in 8 episodes, and then we get to the point where 2 of the characters are trying to cross a river, and one of the characters gets trapped under a log, and that's basically the episode.
They're trying to get this one character from out from under the log, as I guess for some reason rivers have tides.
Yeah, and the river is rising.
Yeah.
For some, and so it's like, oh, if I don't get this log off you, you're gonna drown.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, oh, come on, just leave the log on me, just let me die. He's like, I don't want to leave the log on you. So it's just basically trying to figure out how to move this log, and it just there was no point for it. If you just cut that episode out, if you just skip that episode entirely, there was really nothing that you miss in the series except for just a guy moving a log.
And the whole episode revolving around this log was ridiculous to a point where where the guy's just moaning about the log. Either that or that's just kind of how we remember it.
Yeah, if we ever go back and watch the episode, which I'm sure is just called the log episode, if we ever go back and watch the log episode, I'm sure it's probably not as bad as we're making it.
Yeah.
But, to us, it's just there is really good things going on in all the series, all the seasons of Prison Break. There's always, a fun, neat, overarching, theme. And sometimes you don't want to get bogged down by bullshit.
Yeah.
And that's what this was. This was bullshittiest of all the bullshit, where it's it's basically one character, gets caught in a bear trap and and it has to wait around to be free. Even that would be more dignified. It was basically them just sitting down by the river and being like, well, let's just kind of wait for an episode before we move on.
And I don't know why, but to me, I have a feeling I have a false memory, but to me, the river in question is that tiny little river in Robin Hood Men in Tights when he's trying to cross the bridge. If I remember, it seemed like a very simple river to cross, fairly narrow and shallow.
It's there was a bridge on it that he could have just went across.
And somehow this dumbass just gets caught under a log.
Also, how does that happen? How do you just get caught under a log?
You have to be trying to get caught under a log in order to get caught under a log.
Right now, if I was to swim across a river and I got caught under a log, I really think that it's a natural selection process going on.
The only way that the show could have had less dignity on that episode is if the character Sucre, befriended a bunch of beavers to help him move the log.
See, I'm thinking that that episode was written by a fairy tale, and then the Grand Sucre tried to cross the river. That's them turning the page. Oh no, the evil troll sends a log at it. Yeah. And then the log catches the good-natured Sucre.
Oh no!
But the brave hero prince won't let the log beat Sucre, so they call their beaver friends in to destroy the log and weaken it enough for him to escape the log. The troll sees the log being weakened and raises the river to stop him from getting out. And then what happens? They free the log. Yay!
Now go to bed.
My, how I would have done it was, I would have had him, get out from the clutches of the log, and the log go on to be a recurring villain.
Anytime there's a body of water.
The log comes drifting down, to the point where you almost feel that the log is sentient.
It's Jaws.
It's hey, the log's over there. The log's not going to get you, and then he looks back and he's caught again. is like, oh, the log's got my shirt.
Like they're walking down the road and out from a puddle in a pothole jumps the log.
Like they're going down. It's raining hard, and here comes the log going down the street.
Yeah.
And just as it's about to get Michael Scofield, like like Lincoln's there shooting the log into pieces. You saved me.
I imagine they defeat the log in the long run, but he's not dead. He's just he
comes back.
He just drifts into the sunset. But I imagine the next season, like their backs are up against the wall, and they need some sensitive information, and they don't really know what to do. But they get a source, so they go to a parking garage, and in the shadows, wearing a trench coat and a fedora is the log.
And there's they start having an understanding with the log.
Yeah,
and the log, even though they're not friends, the log does help him have a jam every now and again.
But they don't trust him. Like, I still don't trust that log, man.
It's a cigarette-smoking log. But at the very end, the final twist is their own trial for all the things that happened, and the log testifies against them, thereby proving they could have never trusted the log. But the log is all a ruse. The log wants them into jail so they can help them break out and free another prisoner. Turns out the log is working for the president all along.
I knew it.
The log's at the top of the chain. This is why we shouldn't have been able to write Prison Break.
Actually, the log has dirt on the president, is blackmailing him.
So the log is the real, the top of the chain.
Oh yeah, and he goes to jail. Not the log wants to go to jail because he's protected there. There is no better way to be protected than behind bars and guarded.
And but they know that they can't touch him once he's in there, so he can live a life of pretty much luxury.
Yeah, and he becomes the leader of a gang. I imagine he's wearing a bandana.
Yeah, he's the it's the log group.
Yeah.
There's other sentient pieces of wood in there, like Old Chief Woodenhead from Creepshow 2, and the other log from Ren and Stimpy,
and a plank.
From Ed, Edd and Eddy.
Oh, I forgot about Ed, Edd and Eddy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he leads this ragtag gang that they terrorize that prison yard.
Oh man, the amount of paddlings
and splinters that these people get, and
Schofield has to break into the prison to break out with the log,
and he has to break out the whole log gang. But at the same time, he's working on a double cross to put the log gang. Expose the dirt that the log gang have, remove their power, and, defeat them once and for all.
But it's extra difficult because how do you break someone out who does not want to be broken out?
Ooh.
Yeah.
So yeah, we should start writing this season down. This is season 6 of Prison Break.
So I like a lot of what you guys have here.
You capture the characters very well.
You have such a interesting plot. There's a specific character I have an issue with, though.
In fact, everything tied to this character I don't like. This log. Do we have to have it be...
Wait, you mean Sucre? We can cut Sucre out.
No, not Sucre. I mean the log.
Oh, you mean Teabag?
No, the actual log. The guy they're trying to break out of the prison.
But
he's the main part of the...
yeah.
Can't we have somebody else, like maybe maybe Poseidon from season 5? Maybe he can come. That'll be the guy they're trying to break out, or maybe a classic villain that we've seen before. Oh, no. We've seen the log before.
Like he nearly took out one of the main characters.
Listen, guys, I
I
don't know why. I don't know how to explain this to you any better, but a sentient piece of wood does not make for a good villain. Has it ever been done?
Look, I'm going to tell you, when I saw the log episode, and that was all you did with such a diverse and magnificent character, that he was only in one episode, I thought it was a tragedy.
I thought we should bring this guy back. Listen, I've seen every single season, every single episode of this show, most of them more than once, and I've not forgotten that log. That's how much of an impact he had. And that by now, this guy's rubbing his chin. Huh. I never thought of it like that.
I'm gonna have to speak with the higher ups on this one, fellows.
He goes into the door, goes through a door, and it's just a log. They want to ruin your character.
It's either he goes into a room and you just hear.
Like, I would... Listen, at this point, like, to me, the show Prison Break, it told its story, it wrapped up nicely, and then it got brought back for a 5th season, and, it told another little story, and I enjoyed it very much. Where else could they go but with sentient pieces of wood?
Well, it also kind of begs the question, not begs the question, but, like, if you have explored pretty much every direction that can, rightfully or feasibly be explored with all your characters and all your plots, why not go for a farce? Yeah, why not go for something funny?
Yeah, go to have a little bit of this self-awareness kind of thing. Like, if season 6 of Prison Break, right now, if they announce, all right, there's going to be a season 6 of Prison Break, I would be happy for it, but at the same time, I'd be like, if it's not great, why do they keep on dragging it back, up and, like, pretty much revisiting it? Like, it was... The first 4 seasons when it ended, it was fine. It was good. I enjoyed the way it ended. They brought back another season, and it was fine. I enjoyed the way they did that. But, like, at this point, if they had that kind of self-awareness where they decided, you know what, we're going to make this almost a parody season, but we're going to play it completely straight-laced as if this log is really an important character, and really, like, if they really go all out with everyone playing it straight, but knowing that it's that it is silly, kind of how they did it with Airplane.
Yeah,
it would actually be. It would be such to me a wonderful breath of fresh air.
It would breathe new life into the show. It would breathe new life into the characters. I have a feeling like the actors would get a kick out of doing something different with these characters.
Yeah.
After playing them for so long, I think. If you've explored every avenue you can with a show and its characters, why not just go for a parody?
It's kind of interesting because even though I like the show Supernatural, I think it's okay. I do appreciate that they do things like that every now and again. They'll have a kind of a almost a joke episode where they're trapped in a TV, or they had an episode where they're in the cast of Scooby-Doo.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
And it's like, okay, I do appreciate that they can do that every now and again, have this level of kind of self-awareness that they're just having fun sometimes. But if you did a log season of Prison Break where they're and especially if not only do you play it straight-laced the entire time, that this log is this like guy at the top of the chain in prison that they're trying to break out but doesn't want to be broken out, but also if you put as much effort into the cleverness and the intrigue that they do with the show originally, man, that would be a treat. I think it'd have to be a one-off. It would clearly be the last season, but it would be a great send-off to something fun.
Would it be the last season? Can
you come back from that though?
I don't know. Like if you start with a farce season, like one of the hardest things to do, one of the like when you open up the avenues of ludicrousness, like you're not bound by reality.
Well, that's true, but I feel that once you open it up a little bit and you say, all right, now what can we do, then you fall in the danger of trying to top what you've already done.
That's true.
And it does kind of lose some of its luster. So I would definitely have it be the last season and it just be over the top. Not even over the top, just the same level of writing and attention they paid to it, but just with a few very, very silly elements to it, to the point where, as you were saying, that is definitely farcical.
And I imagine there is so much we could do with that log episode.
Oh,
the
log
series.
season.
And we're back. That was just my alarm going off.
We had a little bit of an interruption, but bottom line, don't do drugs.
Yeah.
I forget where log episode.
Yeah, like there's nothing we really can't do with a log episode, like a
log season.
Like I imagine the log's not really shown as much, but whenever it is, like everyone's terrified of it because he's such a looming menace.
Build this character into something so almost untouchable, but at the same time, it would almost be Al Capone walking into the prison, but not just Al Capone. Imagine Al Capone if he was also the Pope. You know, Al Capone.
Like, not just Al Capone and the Pope, but, like, he's Al Capone, the Pope, and the Hulk.
Yeah.
Like you know, he's gonna beat he is highly revered, but he's also gonna beat the ever-living shit out of you.
If you so much as look at him the wrong way.
Like, I imagine there's a scene where someone's in holding, and he's just waiting to get, work through, all the, I's dotted and the T's crossed, and the, when he's, being processed, and then the door opens and it's the log. And he, no, and, it just closes, the door closes, and, he, behind them with the two in the room, and the next time you see him, he's, like, being wheeled off in a gurney.
And,
like, he's beaten up off screen, but it was a log that did it.
It was exceedingly brutal, too.
Yeah.
And, I want him to be almost cloaked in shadows a lot, I want him to be, very, very powerful performance, and it's almost so silly, but at the same time, you put all this, time and effort and, try to make it as clever as possible, but at the same time as intense as possible, without breaking face that this is a log that we're talking about. Sucre sees him, like, no, not the log again.
I have a feeling that it would almost have the antithesis of what we had, what we intend, where people would take it seriously after a while, like after the initial shock that
this is silly.
Is this a fucking log?
What? Oh, they're just going straight up silly with this.
Yeah, and then like if it's done straight faced enough, like eventually people will be on board.
They'll come back around full circle to the fact that people almost forget that it's a parody and get swept up in the show itself.
But every once in a while, like something will happen and they kind of realize, oh wait, this is a log. This is a log that everyone's talking about.
Yeah, then and somehow it gets nominated. Log gets nominated for Best Supporting Actor in a Television Role.
Like he goes up on stage and
I imagine he's sitting in the chair waiting. He's sitting in the seat and he's got a tuxedo and everything. They're reading off all the names. Like, all right, it's Alan Alda from from Story Time. It's the guy from Black Mirror, and Log from Prison Break. And even though the log's not moving, obviously, because it's a log, people you just assume that it's a dignified pose that they're casting.
And they call it the log, and you don't really see him go up on stage, but it eventually gets up there, and then Billy Crystal gives him the Emmy. And
it's like, and the winner is the log, and it just cuts to him, and everyone's clapping around, everyone's standing and clapping, but he's not, you don't see him move at all. And then, like, when Billy Crystal hands, you see him walk over with the award statue, and he's already there behind the podium, and that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, he doesn't make a sound because he's just a log.
He stands behind the microphone, and it's quiet for a little while because everyone's expecting some kind of award speech, and it's just silence until like the squirrel that's in the knothole comes out and chirps into the mic.
Oh, I was thinking more. It's silence for a while, and then the music swells, and then after the log goes back to its seat, and after that, all the news outlets are reporting on it. The log took 30 seconds of silence at the Emmy speech to protest the wars abroad. It becomes a huge political platform, and it does eventually launch into log for senator. Like, they can dust off some of the old catchphrases like Tippecanoe and log too.
Or what would be a good catchphrase to vote to make you want to vote for a log?
Let's see.
I would.
Yeah. Well, you took the one I was gonna do.
Oh, is that what it was?
That was one of them I was thinking of. Let's see another one. Not. Okay.
But eventually, eventually, he's a very popular senator. Gets some laws passed.
Yeah.
And eventually goes for president. And
we're missing a whole section of his life its life as senator when it gets up and does the longest recorded filibuster ever recorded on the floor of the Senate. 23 years. No, that's too long. 24 days.
24 straight days. And it turned out that it was a piece of bark flapping under a vent. That it was just making
once they moved it a little bit, but because of that, it got a lot of accomplished in that time, and then it becomes president, log for president.
But before he can take his inauguration, a shot rings out.
I was thinking something different. I was thinking that it catches pneumonia and dies within the first couple
he
weeks.
He gets Dutch elm disease.
And it puts an early rest to this presidency.
Right.
He gets buried in a canoe made from himself. Or a coffin, not a canoe.
What is he, in a pyre?
Yes.
But before all that, I imagine he finds out from his doctor, his wood doctor, that he gets Dutch elm. His botanist, that he gets Dutch elm disease, and he resigns the seat of the president to the vice president fence post, and lives out his remaining days in his villa in Italy.
Oh, see, I was thinking that there's, when he announces his run for presidency, there's immediate backlash from some pundits. They're like, the Constitution forbids this. The Constitution says he has to be over 35 years of age. This thing came from a tree that was 90 years old. There's no upper limit on that, so that's fine. Has to be it has to be living, and the log came from a living thing, which is a tree, so that's okay. Residency of this country, it was born here. It grew from a sapling here. It raised up into a mighty tree here, and then it became a log.
Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Jeff Goldblum is the defensive lawyer for that.
I imagine that there's like a kind of a birther movement where they find out he's actually like 350 years old and was born here before it was actually the United States of America.
And it becomes
it becomes a big legal deal because there's no precedence for this, like, because people are expected to die eventually. Yeah. So they don't know, like, he's born in this country, but it wasn't quite the country yet. So where do his loyalties stand? And there's this big thing where they're counting rings.
It's like log versus the state of Texas,
Illinois.
And eventually it's it gets past a 5-4 victory in the Supreme Court.
And his inauguration is also his declaration of citizenship, or his citizenship,
like in the end of Johnny Five,
or
Circuit 2,
or Mac and Me.
Well, I don't know which one was a stupider reference.
I think they're both pretty bad.
Yeah. So yes, that if that doesn't happen, if we make our log season a Prison Break, if all that doesn't happen exactly the way we laid it out, I just don't know what to say.
And once he does finally pass,
the movies get made about him.
Movies. He's played by Keanu Reeves.
No, he's played by Daniel Day-Lewis. He's so versatile.
He is. But who's a wooden actor?
Hayden Christensen.
Yeah, he's played by Hayden Christensen.
Although I can't really blame his acting. That was more George Lucas's fault. He's played by a I would say another up and coming log actor.
Let's see. He is played by what's his name? Oh, it's gonna bother me. Mickey Rourke. Like, if there's ever a man that is a log.
Yeah, it is a very dignified portrayal. It's very good. It wins him an Oscar nod. Not a win, but an Oscar nod.
Yeah, he's nominated at least for best actor, but unfortunately loses to Sister Act 3. Sister Act
goes to camp.
I was gonna say Sister Act does Iceland.
Oh,
when Iceland calls.
Yeah, when Iceland calls. So yeah, then they make a parody movie about the life of Log after many years have passed, because comedy is nothing but tragedy plus time.
Yeah.
So they make a parody of this Log where he's or where it's walking around farting all the time and I don't know, like running like shooting home runs in the National League Baseball, and
just everything with termites.
Yeah, and it comes around completely full circle. It started as a parody, became a precedent, a legacy, and then came back to a parody. It's a circle of Log.
The Log is played by Jim Varney.
Jim Varnish. So yeah, I hope everybody enjoyed that exceedingly well documented.
40 minutes
of just log talking.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, there's probably some lumberjacks in our audience sitting there like, you know what? That sounds fucking awesome.
I will watch an entire series about a dignified American log.
Real logs of genius. Yeah, people remember that, I think.
Log that ran for president.
Tonight we salute you, Mr. Log that ran for president. You were born before the country existed. Yeah. So, I guess I'm just speechless at this point.
Yeah, like, where do you go from there? Like, Log in space?
Loggins and Messina. I got so many log puns. Well, I guess
Kenny Loggins.
Yeah, that was the Loggins from Loggins and Messina.
Oh,
but I like yours better, Kenny Loggins.
And
Kenny Loggers. All right, I'm done. That's it. I'm leaving. I'm taking my things off. I'm just walking out.
Don't leave them on.
I was just shutting a door. I wasn't shooting myself.
I'm done with this.
Mark? You turn me over and... I'm the Log! How did he do that?
Now Britton can sit on the couch.
No, you cannot.
There's just a big log on the couch all the time now.
Hey. That's a hell of a thing to say. There's a big log that takes up space.
You said you were the log.
I know. It was a magic trick.
There's this big fucking log that just hogs up the couch.
Fucking log. I hate this fucking log.
Just sits on the couch and farts.
It's like, I am telling you, that sap isn't natural.
Oh, man. So,
Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Episode 2 and 3. I think it's okay. I know that we're jumping into it not from a fresh perspective, but even so, I think that it is very much just all right.
Yeah, I think it's good so far. I'm curious what they're going to do with it. I've heard good things, and I'm hoping that the show lives up to the expectations and the hype.
And we're gonna keep on plugging away with this. So expect some more episodes of The Mandalorian as we go along.
And expect more of the log.
I hope the log comes back. People will turn it off once the log comes back.
Like, if we haven't explained what a log episode is in this podcast, I don't think anyone's gonna like
that. You're not gonna get that if you don't get it now. But anyway, take it easy.
A toodaloo.
That ought to hold a little LOGs.